You're going to hear it and you're going to be like, wow, anyone can do a podcast. And that's basically what we're here to say.
That's the point.
Yes.
Anyone can do this.
Welcome back to Duo On Air. I'm Abby.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're the ex-agency turned entrepreneurial team that puts the Duo in Duo Collective. Our boutique organic marketing agency specializes in SEO, social media strategy, and branding.
We're an everyday pair of business besties / marketing experts obsessed with helping our community learn more about what it takes to run a business.
Which is why on Duo On Air, we're not holding anything back. We're giving you all the info we know about how to grow your business organically so you can be the confident CEO you were made to be.
And how to navigate life as a small business owner.
Whether it's on your own or with your best friend by your side, so grab your coffee
or your mimosa, we don't judge,
and settle in for a quick value-packed episode of Marketing Tips.
Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 127, and today we're sharing a peek at our podcast workflow. And just a little forewarning for you, it's not super fancy, it's not
so
technical.
Glamorous.
There is no special formula. It's just a really raw, behind-the-scenes peek at what our whole podcast workflow is all about.
You're going to hear it and you're going to be like, wow, anyone can do a podcast. And that's basically what we're here to say.
That's the point.
Yes.
Anyone can do this. If you have information to share, like, do it and just share it.
And if you like to talk.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I know, right? We sometimes think that an episode's going to be 15 minutes and it's 45. So,
whoops.
Not to say that that's the goal, but you know. So anyways, we're just going to break down a quick little walkthrough of our podcast workflow from beginning to actually promoting it at the end so that you can kind of see all the things that go into it. So maybe you have your own podcast and you just want to see how our workflow differs. Maybe you want to do a podcast in the future, whatever it is. Or maybe you just want to know what we do behind the scenes because we love to share it. If you love to hear it. So
and people love our podcast, so we're just going to invite you to the background of what it is.
We'll invite you to the behind the scenes.
Yes.
So the very first thing that we have to do before we record is that we really love what it can be both of us on the podcast. Now, obviously, we occasionally need to do some solo episodes here and there because we can't get together, but the goal is always to batch record. So the very first thing we do that kind of kicks off the whole process is to literally schedule a date on our calendar, block our calendar so we can't have calls, which we have failed to do multiple times.
Oh, yeah, there have been times where we batch record but also have calls, and that is really tough because you can't really get into a flow. Mm-hmm. So when we have failed to do that, we just kind of make it work.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, we're like ready to go to bed by 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. But we're getting better at that. So when we can have the full day to batch record, it's actually kind of like a fun little day to get together and work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And I'd say, so like today is a day we're batch recording and we only had to do 4. We only had to do 3, but we're doing 4.
So we had no calls.
I know, because we had no calls. And we even had a late start to the day because I had one of my kids this morning and we're finishing up before 3 o'clock. So, which is kind of awesome. So,
and we stopped and ate. We actually, we did eat. Sometimes we
did eat.
Fly through, but we usually eat.
And then we'll try to do a few other things during the day too. If there's things we need to meet on or talk on just because we're together. So that's kind of nice. But anyways, we just need to plan that date on our calendar. So usually I would say once a month would be the goal. Otherwise it's probably once every 6 weeks, depending on how much we can batch during that day. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of number one that kicks off the whole process is like plan the day. So it would be really nice, and we probably should start doing it moving forward, is like plan them out for a quarter at a time just to make sure that we have the dates on our calendar and they don't get overlooked. But usually at the end of our recording day, we'll plan the next day so that we have it on the calendar. We know how far we're booked out and all of that.
Yes.
So that's step number 1, block the day. Step number 2 is idea generation. So I'm not going to lie, there have been plenty of times where we block the day and the ideas and the notes aren't there yet to record. So we spend the first part of the day making the episode ideas and the notes. But in a perfect world, we have all the notes, we have the episode ideas, they're spaced out, they're strategic, like that, which is super important. So anyways, have a few, we kind of wanted to share a little behind the scenes of like how we come up with podcast ideas, because I think that can be kind of interesting just to break down. So, one is we just like use a super fancy Word doc to track all this. So there's nothing fancy about how we are tracking our ideas. It's literally a Google Word doc that we update that includes a list of like future guests we want to invite, ideas that our audience submitted us. So we love to ask on Instagram, in our email list, like share topics and ideas for us. So if you have any, please send them along, because we really truly love to create content. Like that's the whole point of this, is to create the content for you. So please share.
Yes.
And so we track everything in this Word doc, just leave notes in there so that we have talking points. And then we also use tools to help us. So I love Gemini, ChatGPT, love to use them to help come up with topic ideas. Just recently I gave them the list of I literally gave Gemini the Word doc, like the Google doc that is using all of these ideas, and said, hey, I need more ideas similar to these. Can you spit some out? And it did. And there were a couple good ones that I was like, great. So then we modify and make it our own. But it can be a really fun way to just generate some new ideas under the topics that, especially when you're feeling stuck.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you are like, gosh, I don't know what to talk about, just, take all of your past episodes, copy and paste that doc into there, and they can spit out stuff that's similar, but a little bit different to help you get some more ideas generated, especially if you're unsure of what to do.
Yeah. So we love using that. I also really like using Also Asked. So Also Asked, if you've ever gone to Google and you've searched something and then you see that there's this people also asked section where it spits out a bunch of questions. Also Asked is basically a tool that pulls all of that out to like narrow in on the question and get like deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's a really cool tool. And the episode all about your branding, so that would have been episode 125, all about your branding quiz, the 3 C's, is actually an idea that formulated from that tool. So that's a really cool tool. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Some other like content specific ones that I like are Answer the Public and BuzzSumo, which are just really good for content creation that isn't like keyword driven. Because when it comes to doing podcasts, and I can do a whole separate episode on podcast SEO, but when it comes to podcasts, you're not really going after a single keyword. You're more so going after questions and phrases, because that's how people are searching for podcast episodes. So it's a little bit different. So these tools can be helpful. And then obviously SEMrush, Ubersuggest, you can use other tools too to generate ideas, because sometimes you can come up with those deeper forms of questions and content based on an actual keyword that you found. So yeah, we don't usually outline everything like word for word. We just kind of chunk it out. Every once in a while, it just like flows, and I'll write a novel and Courtney will be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think it's easier to just, I feel like back in the day, we would try to maybe do it like word for word, because we thought we had to have this like fancy podcast and like be professional right out the gates. But we found that just having something skim worthy in front of us with notes and bullet points is a lot easier, and it makes it more conversational. We're not reading off of a screen. We're not stumbling over words. So we found it really easy to just kind of outline it like that, kind of bullet point wise, note wise, versus like writing out a full script, because that's a lot of work to write out a full script. And it's just, it doesn't come through as conversational as it could if you just have some notes in front of you of what you want to talk about.
Yeah, we spread off different ideas too. So it's like nice to go off script and like add other ideas and other thoughts and different things like that. But the main point of outlining it is more so to help our blog writer, who we'll talk about after we do the post-recording section of this. But it's just to really help her kind of structure the content too. So I think outlining it that way is kind of the main goal, in addition to making sure we don't like lose our mind on an episode and forget what we were talking about, which could happen.
Yes. I feel like there has been a couple episodes where we're done recording and we're like, wow, I like zoned out for like 10 minutes and wasn't really sure what I was talking about. Did I sound stupid? It doesn't happen often, but there are a few times where like, wait, what? what did I
Or
just
like
say?
I literally had a good idea and then it just disappeared out of my brain.
Right.
And I'm like,
or
okay.
you're talking about something and you're like, wait, what was I talking about? So then you try to like sound like you're smart and you know what you're talking about, and you just kind of finish it, and then I like look at Abby and I'm like, am I dumb?
Recover. Where's the reset button? Oh my goodness. So that's kind of what we do after we have that date scheduled. We know that we need to generate the ideas. So usually it's like the week before we record that we're getting all of the ideas outlined so that they're all ready. In a perfect world, they're all ready by the time we get together and actually do the recording.
Yes. So then the next thing is the actual recording. So we have our date in our time, and we get together in our podcast studio. You'd be so impressed with the setup.
We'll put a picture in the show notes for you.
It's in Abby's house. It's her cute little office space, and we're kind of just making it work right now. We have this, if you're watching the actual video, we have this cute Duo on Air logo lit up sign behind us on the wall. We found some cute branded chairs on Facebook Marketplace that we decided to purchase. Funny story there. We both reached out to that lady and said that we were interested in her chairs. And the lady told Abby no because she had somebody else interested, and it was me. So
she actually said like first come, first serve. She could have totally pitted us against each other and been 100%. Like, this person's offering me this, like, what are you going to offer me? And all of a sudden we would have like gotten the chairs at not a good deal, but luckily she didn't do that.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I guess my business partner's husband's going to come get them. And that she actually never even replied to me.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. Anyways, so we got these, and Abby's husband helped find all these gadgets for the microphone and all of that stuff.
So we have what, 2 chairs, the sign. We've always had our Yeti mic, but we bought a boom arm to like actually reach it over to us, which is not classy. Like
I can't wait for you to see this photo. You guys need to check out the photo.
The only way we could do it is like we had to do it like upside down to like be below us. Otherwise it would like cut off Courtney's face because there was no way. Like we don't have a table or anything over here yet, so we need to get a table, whatever. But and then there's a lot of stools, stacks of books,
wires
everywhere. There's 2 lights and a camera and our laptops on our laps and laptop. Actually using it that way. So it is not fancy, but it works.
No. Yeah, but you would never guess.
Yeah, and you hear all the time about people like recording in their car and in their office or in their closet, and like there is totally like you don't need anything fancy. You don't need a studio. The only reason why we wanted to do like chairs and the light and fun is because we wanted to show up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we knew that we would do it if we had like a little mini setup. And it doesn't mean it couldn't have just been our face, but since there's 2 of us, we felt like it needed to be a little bit more structured.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's just like fun to sit here next to each other in matching chairs for the duo and just be a little bit more relaxed and feel good about it.
Right. So we basically hop in the studio, like I'm using air quotes here, studio, and we record everything with video and audio now, and we use Tela. We talked all about the tool that we love to use in episode 111, which, P.S., he says the tool is not for podcasting, which is very true. So we'll just pretend that we use this for YouTube video. All it means is you can't just record audio. You have to record video and audio. So, but anyways, we use the tool for podcasting, and honestly, it's great. Like it works really great for us, and we love it. We divide up talking points sometimes.
It's like so rough how we do it. We don't like we don't have a color coding system. We don't have initials. It is literally like we look at the notes and I'm like, yeah, cool. I'll take this up until here. And then do you want to take over? And then I don't know, sure. I'll organically pop in here. Yeah. It's so loose and rough, but it works. I mean,
it's mainly just so we don't talk over each other. And the biggest thing is like, who's going to start and who's going to end, because we both don't want to jump in and be like, welcome to Duo on Air at the exact same time. That would be stupid.
We should do one where we both say it at the same time and see if we like are synced up perfectly.
We got to practice.
Glenn would love us.
So that's really it. And then we're batch recording. So the most I think we've ever recorded, how many? 7?
Has it been? Have we done 7?
Maybe. I think so.
That might have been when we first started and we were super ambitious.
We were very ambitious. We were also really good about doing short clips. So I think it depends. Like if we have even one 40-minute in there, like that definitely sucks energy from you. So I would say like 6 is like the max that we usually shoot for. But we also like, I don't know, we want to be productive when we like actually sit down and do this. So ideally, and it also depends on, do we have any guest podcast episodes in the future?
Those take up a little bit more time than just us two.
Or they at least like plug the holes in. So like how much content can we actually create? And then when are we able to get together again? Like, is there a holiday coming up? Are you taking time off? Are you traveling? Or who's going to be here? Like we have to just think through when we can meet, and then that determines how much we have to actually create. Usually. So like right now I'm taking off the month of June. So we're recording into July right now and it's May. So which is crazy. We don't like we're not
mid-July, right?
Yeah.
Because that first week of July is a holiday too. So we try to account for that so we don't have to like be recording on dates like that.
Yep. Well. Yeah. So then after we kind of hit record, we get all of that content done, and then it comes to post-recording. So this is actual, like the launch prep. So we've just batched a ton of content. Now what needs to happen? What are all the things that have to happen basically? So we use Asana to track everything. So we have a lot of different people, 4 in total right now, that touch the podcast after we're done recording. So, and then we use Asana to actually like assign the tasks so everyone knows what they have to do and when they have to do it. So nothing really gets missed. So the nice thing is like we can batch all of the content, but all of the tasks after we record can kind of be dripped down throughout the week, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's not all has to be done all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, person number 1 is, my husband. But he is our podcast editor. So he just needs to make sure he has the files so that he can edit the audio. Honestly, like in a perfect world, we could batch this, but he doesn't love to. He likes to just do it on the weekend before it goes live, which is fine. Whatever. He's helping us out here. So he's doing all of the editing. So he has to get the files to actually edit it. Person number 2 is our internal designer. So she is helping us actually create the videos for YouTube, which is super fun.
Which she actually also is family too.
She is, yeah. Well, all these people are almost related to me, all but one. And then person number 3 is our blog writer. And she actually creates the show notes in WordPress. So she does these weekly. So every week she uses the outlines and the talking points from our notes to create the blog post that's going to support this, and then actually embedding the podcast episode in that blog post. So that's how you make sure that your podcast episode can actually get found on Google. So definitely important to make sure you do that. And then person number 4 is our right-hand gal, and she's kind of like our project manager, sees and makes sure everything runs smoothly. She is helping to schedule and publish the episode on our hosting platform. So we just switched over from Podbean to Captivate, which so far has been a really great experience. And yeah, so basically she'll take the episode once it's been edited by our podcast editor and plug it into our platform to actually hit publish and get that sucker live.
And she is also family. So basically this podcast is brought to you by Abby's family.
It is. And it's funny because it's actually all my husband's family, because my husband edits, and then his 2 sisters are our design and our project manager.
Yes.
My sister-in-laws.
So I always joke that if they ever want to push me out, I'm not family. So they're just going to be like, nah, we don't need this gal.
No, that would never happen. But honestly, I cannot explain how amazing it is to have people we trust like so much running this part of our business.
Yes. Like, it is very easy to work with and to hand things off and to know that they're there for us and like truly want to help us within our business and are excited about it. They really love it.
Yeah. And we do too. So if we didn't have these 4 people, like this podcast wouldn't come to life. Or it's not that it wouldn't come to life, but it would take a heck of a lot of work from us to make it happen. So it's really nice because our overall goal is really to record the content. Like right now we're talking to you, we're recording it. When we're done with this day is just to walk away.
Yeah.
Like walk away and know it's going to get
it.
out to you because we have the right people in place who are doing the right tasks.
And
So
it's not to say that you can't do this all by yourself. You certainly can. You're just going to need a process and the tools that you're comfortable with in order to do it. But we do have some really great, amazing people on our team.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really, really nice and a blessing that we can kind of do that and batch this content, still show up every single week and have the right people in our universe to make it all happen. So I'm also like, I don't know, just going to get a little bit real to you. We recently thought I really like 4 people feels a little chaotic. Like in my brain, I was just like, I just want this to be managed by one person. Like I want one person to own our podcast. And so we really did try to outsource this and it didn't work.
It just wasn't a fit.
Yeah, it wasn't the right fit. And it just wasn't I think process wise, we didn't ask enough questions in the upfront. So it just wasn't working out how we wanted it to. And in hindsight, I think like in my brain, I really wanted there to be like this one perfect person to do it. But in reality, we have like the right people helping us, which I'm sure my husband's eventually going to want to break. So he's going to be like, you need to find an editor. I'm not going to do this for you forever, especially since he's starting his own business right now. But I'm just going to use him while he lets me. But like we really do, we have an expert blog writer who knows our brand, who's been writing in our business forever. She knows our voice. She knows what to do. I trust her fully from an SEO perspective. Like she's nailing it. So why do we need to like transfer that to someone who's going to be a jack of all trades who might not be able to do it as well?
Right.
So it's kind of nice to like have experts in their own area, just work on these separate things. And as long as we have a workflow and a process in place, that's okay. You don't need to have one person doing it all for you.
Right.
So that was kind of a learning that we had recently.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And so then the next thing is all about promoting your podcast. Something that we could probably be a little bit better at, especially on my side of things, is sharing it on social. But, a social post.
Share it in general.
Right. Like whether, it's in your email, whether it's on social, whether it's in your stories, whether, wherever, just sharing it and getting it out there and letting people know like, hey, this week's episode is live. It's all about blah, blah, blah. Make sure you go and listen to it or watch it on whatever platform you use for podcasts. But just get it out there and talk about it. And sometimes we don't actually do like an actual post, but we'll share it in stories as often as we can just to let you know it's out there, so you guys can tune in and listen to it. Another place you'll find it is in our weekly Tips and Sips newsletter. We always talk about podcasts there and link them out there as well. So just getting it out there and promoting it. So, it's always keeping it top of mind. We know we have our followers that listen weekly, but, people that are coming in new or people that are looking for specific podcast episodes, we want to make sure that we're hitting them as well.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of nice too, like if we ever get back on track of like actually sharing out reels, because, the nice thing about Tella is that you can actually share vertical formats of your content too. So like I can actually change it and update it in Tella, but we also love using like Opus, which is another tool that's really great that will take your video and put it into vertical formats. So you can actually like promote it across like YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Instagram or wherever. And the really nice thing is like this podcast content is out there forever. We can promote this at any time. Like right now, we don't have the capacity to promote it everywhere where we want to, but we can go back to top performing episodes and drive traffic and prioritize those. Like if you can't do it on a weekly workflow, that's okay. The content is there for you to communicate and share out whenever. So I think that reality is really nice, but it's also really nice to continue to drive traffic beyond the launch day. So a lot of platforms base how you rank on the podcast, like charts and things like that, based on either downloads or subscribes. So if you can continue to drive downloads and subscribes beyond just the day you launch an episode, that will help your podcast perform better and get seen by more people. So promoting it. Like say you launch on Monday, you know you're going to get a bunch of hits because you have people subscribed. So maybe you promote it on social media on Wednesday, because now you can like push it one more time to a new group of people and continue to drive that. And that's why people do like multiple episode drops a week, which like, yes, that would be great. We would love to, but we don't have enough time right now to actually do that. So maybe that can be like a future, and it is a future goal of ours, but that's just something where we have to figure out a better workflow and process. Like,
I think if we could podcast 100% of the time, we definitely would.
100%.
All the time. We're just full-time podcasters. We really do like it though. Yeah. It's our most fun form of content that we do for you guys.
Yeah. And if you listen back to our episode about the 20% of your marketing efforts, like podcasting is one of our top 3 marketing channels. So knowing that, like we know that when we do decide that we're going to add more days to podcasting, we know that that's going to bring in revenue, because that is where a lot of our leads come from. So like it's working for us. So it's bringing in the right ROI. So it's reassuring to know that too. Otherwise we wouldn't be as consistent as we have been.
Right.
Because it's a lot of work.
The numbers show.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, you promote your podcast, and then you can just kind of be like reassured that it's going to get distributed to all of your favorite platforms, because as long as you've connected your RSS feed, so wherever your podcast platform is, if you're new to podcasting and don't know what I'm talking about right now, your podcast host, so like Captivate for us, there's like Podbean, Riverside, there's a bunch of different hosts that you can choose, will give you an RSS feed. And you basically link the RSS feed up with all of the platforms you want to be at. So Amazon, YouTube, YouTube Music, Amazon, YouTube Music, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher went away, Google Podcast went away. Okay. Yeah. So there's a handful, and then there's like a ton more too that you can distribute your feed to. So then you can basically show up wherever your audience shows up. So like the core ones you definitely want to be on, like Apple and Spotify are probably the 2 biggest. You want to make sure you're there. And then I'd say Amazon Music and YouTube Music are another 2 big ones that I'd show up on too. But your stuff will automatically get distributed there. Then it's just about making sure that you appear high, which then comes down to podcast SEO, which again, we should do a whole episode on this. But just getting more downloads, promoting your podcast, like all of that. And then for us, if we also are showing up on YouTube, that's all like manual, because you have to upload video. So that's not going to happen from your actual podcast publishing. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. That's pretty much it.
I feel like there was a moment in the middle of this podcast where I was like, I didn't even talk. Oh, guests. I didn't even talk about like how we incorporate guests into our podcast. So I would say typically when we do this is like we want to show up at most. We want it to be us and then guest, us, guest, us, guest. Like that's how we would make sure that we're still prominent. We don't want it to all of a sudden just be guest expert after guest expert, because when we bring them on, they're really leading the conversation and we're not sharing our own expertise and whatever, which is fine. Like sometimes you guys need a break from us, I'm sure, but that's fine. But I'd say when we do guests is we batch that too. So we like to do that quarterly. So whenever people reach out and apply to us, we just file them in a folder and you get an automatic email saying like, hey, we're super busy, but like we promise we review these. And like typically quarterly we reach out and get you scheduled on our book. So we'll just add a scheduling link to our calendars so people can book a time, and we let them know like, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast. Please book a date. And then we just do those over Zoom. Court and I don't get together for those.
Not typically. I think sometimes we have been together, but typically if we have to do like kind of like a 3-way Zoom or whatever, we do it that way.
Yeah. And those are just sort of like extra plug and plays to our like batched days.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of nice to have some extra content.
Yeah. And we try to be really mindful of the guests that we have too, making sure that like we're still serving you as our audience, things that we think that you guys would love to learn about, or things that we want to learn about that, like, if we're excited about it and need more knowledge on it or whatnot, we feel like you guys would feel the same. And sometimes you guys give us topic ideas too, where we're not necessarily the experts. So we seek out those experts in order to have them on the podcast as well.
Yeah. So today, like, we're done recording after this episode in our batch session. And the next thing we're going to do is figure out calendar dates for guests. So, which is kind of, I would say that's part of our workflow, is pretty much after we record, as long as we're not like running up until the final minute when someone has to leave to go get their kids. We like to plan out, like, okay, now who are we going to reach out to for guests? When are we going to meet with them? What should we open up on our calendar without killing ourselves?
Yeah.
So there you have it. Just a mini little podcast workflow. So we hope that you were excited to see a little bit of behind the scenes, or that it inspired you, or I don't know, maybe you just wanted to see some chaos behind our world.
Don't forget to take a look at the pictures of the chaos behind the scenes.
We'll be sure to put them in the show notes.
We ain't perfect.
So enjoy.
If you like this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes dropping every Monday. Plus, if you haven't already, please go ahead and leave us a review, and don't hesitate to share any new episode ideas. We absolutely love hearing from you and creating this content for you. See you next week.